Hello lovers of all things that move. Today we are flying on Avelo Airlines for the first time. So I actually showed up at Tweed Airport and there was no more parking. So they directed me over here to this overflow parking lot, which is located here on Church Street in downtown New Haven. As you see, you got to exit the garage and walk down a little bit to get the shuttle. So it's going to pick us up right here, and hopefully it's coming soon because it's a little brisk this morning. I am flying from New Haven down to Fort Lauderdale. It's supposed to be a quick flight, 2 hours and 20 minutes. My first time flying on Avelo Airlines. So after the shuttle bus, which took about 25 minutes to get there and then 20 minutes to drive to New Haven, I literally ran, and I am the last person in line to get on this flight. Check out this ramp here that you walk up to get on. What a beautiful day to fly. This is actually the closest I can get to getting on Avelo from my house. So it took me about an hour and 20 minutes to get here. They do not fly out of the major airports nearest to my house. So I had to drive down here to New Haven.
What's our airport quick flight today? Winds are unusually light, so 2 hours and 20 minutes. Going to get us down into Fort Lauderdale nice and early. For now, sit back and relax, and we will talk to you airport once you walk aboard.
Tables are in the upright and locked position, while armrests are lowered and window shades open. Flight attendants, please proceed for departure.
I have to say the luxury for flying out of New Haven, or any regional airport for that matter, is that you literally back out of the terminal, and there's only 3 gates in the terminal, by the way. You turn onto the runway, and surprise, surprise, there's not a lot of runway traffic. So you just take right off. You gotta love that, huh? I've been in some airports where I taxi a long time. So let's get out of here. Let's get to Florida. As we enjoy this nice takeoff, I have to give some feedback on the app that Avelo uses. So it is severely outdated. Just be careful if you're going to fly with them. Do not expect the app to work 100%, especially if there's more than one person on the reservation. It did not show the boarding passes for more than one person for me. And I even asked for it to be texted and emailed, and that did not happen. So make sure to print your boarding pass. Once you get up in the air, sadly there is no Wi-Fi available, and the only thing to expect in the air is some water. There is nothing for purchase, no snacks, and no other drinks, just a complimentary water. And you have to actually ring your call bell in order for them to bring you a water over. So don't actually just expect them to bring you water. So again, if you are hungry, if you are thirsty, plan ahead, bring something else with you. I was quite surprised by that. I didn't know that they didn't serve anything. Luckily, I wasn't that hungry, and the water was fine for me, but I think on the way back I'm going to bring some snacks. Welcome to Florida. Don't you just love when people clap when you land? I don't know. Leave a note down in the comments. Are you a clapper when you land at an airport? It wasn't even like that bumpy, but everybody just started clapping, so I thought I would just join in. I don't know if it's being sarcastic to the pilot or if it's being funny, but After I landed, all was well. I had a great weekend. I will have another video coming about my weekend. So I took a nice cruise down in the Bahamas. That'll be coming on the channel soon. Now we're actually leaving back from Florida, and while I'm taxiing around here in Fort Lauderdale, make no mistake about it, it's not New Haven. So it's going to take some time to get out of here. It usually does every time I fly out of Fort Lauderdale. Let me go back and just recap coming down. Like I mentioned about the water and no Wi-Fi, there is no in-flight entertainment. So if you want to have any movies or shows, make sure you download them to your phone or to your tablet, because you will be in the dark literally for the duration of your flight. Sadly, the flight attendants were not that superly friendly. Superly, is that a great word? Superly? I don't know, probably not. But they were not that friendly in terms of what did they do during the duration of the entire flight. So again, if you rang your call bell, they would bring you one water. By the way, the limit is one. So if you drink the whole thing, like I did because I was thirsty, and ask for another one, they will not give you a second, not even for purchase. So you are only allowed one water. So please note that. They also will pass through the aisles probably about 6 times to collect trash. And I'm amazed that they keep doing that, because they haven't served anything and they haven't given anything out. So I don't know how much trash they're expecting to collect, but that is kind of what they do for the majority of the flight. Just literally asking for trash. Another interesting note, so remember I told you about the app and how I had a struggle. So if you have 2 or more people, let's just pretend that there's you and your 8-year-old child with you. So if you were to purchase carry-on luggage with Avelo, you would then be placed into group 1 for boarding. However, your child, if they do not have a carry-on bag, would be in their respective group per their ticket, maybe group 3 or group 4. Now, even though you may book the tickets... Sorry. Even if you were to purchase your tickets together and they are on your app together, or you printed out your boarding passes together, if you are in group 1 and your child is in group 3 or 4, they cannot board with you. So just make a note here that if you try to walk up and bring them with you, the gate agent will not let you on until you wait and you board together with the other people. So perhaps if you're a group 1, but you're with someone else who's a group 3 or 4, wait till group 3 or 4. You're not really a group 1. It's kind of, I guess, misleading on your boarding pass, because every other airline I've flown on, if you are together in the same party and you have carry-on luggage but they don't, they will board with you. But they don't do it that way at Avelo. So just make sure that you know that going forward, and don't make that mistake, because they got very confrontational and made my other party wait by the gate. And I couldn't wait with them. They made me board the plane. And I said, well, what if I don't get to fly? And they said, well, what if we don't let you fly? Kind of like a threat, like if I didn't get on, they weren't going to let me on. So just be careful about that, and make a note to yourself that you can only board with the lowest number of the boarding zone that you have in your entire family. I think it's a weird policy, but again, it is their policy, and by flying with them, you agree with their policies. So after taxiing for 28 minutes, yeah, I was counting. I have my timer going. Fort Lauderdale. I think we're finally turning onto the runway now, and I think we're gonna take off. I love Florida, but time to say goodbye until the next time. right, look at that beautiful beach of Florida. Right, we love all things that move. We love planes, we love the ocean, everything that moves. The world is just so beautiful. This 737-800 is fine for a nice quick trip from New Haven to Fort Lauderdale. Again, just remembering about zero amenities, zero in-flight entertainment. This is the basic of basic service that you can expect on an aircraft. So we are starting our descent into the New Haven airport again, coming back down. When I first got here, like I was mentioning, there was nowhere to park at the airport. And by the way, I was kind of surprised that airport parking here is like $22 a day. I'm used to also flying out of Logan and Hartford, and I love Hartford because I can park at the Hartford airport for like $7 a day. Logan is more like $35, $38 a day, but I was just kind of surprised that a small regional airport like this with very few flights a day would be charging $22 a day to park. The overflow parking lot that I had to go to at Temple Street, which is in downtown New Haven, by the way, it's like 4 miles away from the airport. That's how far it is from the airport. That was not cheap either. So that is like $20 a day, but I was able to get a reduced rate coupon from the shuttle driver that knocks it down to $16 a day. So we'll save just a little bit of money, but still surprisingly high, I think, especially for an overflow lot that is 4 miles away from the airport. So if you live close enough to Tweed, I'd probably recommend that you should have someone drop you off or take a ride share. I think that would be much cheaper, obviously, than parking, and probably just work out better for you. The location of the airport seemed kind of weird. It was like in a residential area. You kind of like leave the downtown of New Haven, you drive through like all these neighborhoods, and then just in the middle of nowhere, like where I don't know, a school or a park would be in the middle of a neighborhood, you find the Tweed airport. So rather a unique location. And welcome back to New Haven. So this is the first time I've ever heard this. We literally landed, we touched down, and we had to wait about 15 minutes because the pilot said that the terminal was at its capacity for passengers per the fire code. So he said we were going to hang back a little bit and we couldn't get out because the building has reached its capacity. I've never heard that before, so I guess the joys of, you know, an airport that is expanding too quickly for itself, right? In terms of the number of passengers and the space limitations. So I'm hoping that now it has freed up because we pulled up and they're about to let us off and get to go home. Or so I thought. The chaos that ensued after we left the terminal is just wild. The shuttle buses are like 35 minutes away, and it says it would take over an hour to walk to where I need to get to. There are no ride shares available. So how fun is this? You get in here and you learn that the shuttle that's supposed to take us back to Temple Street is not here. There's two buses. They are both in New Haven, and their ETA back is 40 minutes. So there's a city bus. What is it, a 206? Yeah. We were gonna try and catch, which says it takes 50 minutes to get to the garage. But I just asked somebody, if you don't call the city bus and make an appointment, the bus won't come into the airport. Now, I was like, okay, let's try Uber. There are no Ubers available. I asked and they said that there is, I guess they don't have a contract here. Only Lyft has a contract with the airport. And I just don't usually use Lyft. So instead, we are walking now outside of the airport. They said to cross the street. And from there, you should be able to get an Uber.
Oh, they're waiting over there.
I think there are some people waiting there. How fun is this? I've never seen an airport so small but yet so chaotic.
Polluted.
Yeah.
There was so
Just
many-
trying to get back to the car.
Probably should do what?
Now there's no sidewalk. We're walking in the middle of the road.
Can't get that to work.
Okay, so 12 minutes for an Uber. Made it to the Uber stop. There's police out here directing traffic. You can see all the planes over there behind me. All the Avelo planes, there we go. I am out breeze too, yeah. But literally waiting out here in the street because I had to walk out of the airport in order to get an Uber, because I'm gonna try and Uber back to the garage. Because I just checked, there's a little thing you can scan to see where the shuttle bus is for the parking lots, and it still says that it's 31 minutes away. So I think my Uber is gonna beat it. Of course, it is 20 bucks when the shuttle is free, but the shuttle actually has to go to the other parking lots first and then to the garage. And that's if I can fit on the shuttle, because no joke, there's probably 70 people waiting for one of the two shuttles. And I don't know what the system is as to who gets on first or how, so I just decided I'd try to find an Uber. There were no taxis available. And again, I don't use Lyft, I just didn't have it ready to go. Nothing against Lyft, I always use Uber. And so if I was to come here again, I would have to have Lyft in order to get out of here. Or I guess make a reservation and be able to park close to the airport. You know, right here at the terminal. They do have some parking, but again, it was sold out when I showed up. So, I mean, the place is just full to capacity. We also had to wait on the plane trying to get off for like 15 minutes because they said that the building was at fire capacity, like per fire code. So there wasn't a way to get off the plane because and literally when you do get into the terminal, it is so compressed and so compacted that it takes you like and to walk through should only take like 10 seconds. That's how small it is, but it took like another 5 minutes because it was just so compressed with people. So clearly there's a lot of activity going on here. And maybe trying to charge a lot for parking is a way to deter people from parking here, but it doesn't seem like it's helping right now. And it is just very chaotic. And there's somebody leaving right now. There's a breeze. See if I can pick that up. There it goes. Only one runway. You come in one runway, you leave one runway. Definitely seems nice, but there's just so much traffic going back and forth over here. And it's wild because it's like right in the middle of a neighborhood. If you look at this, it's kind of wild. My Uber is calling right now, finding me another driver. My driver ditched me. Let's see if I can get out of here. I'm stuck. Maybe I'll have to go back and try to do the shuttle. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Wish me luck. So I'm back home now. How did that story end? So I was rejected by about 6 different Uber drivers. It took me over 45 minutes to get an Uber to finally bring me back to the parking lot. I contemplated many times going back to the terminal, but I actually saw some other passengers that had come out who finally said, like after that 40 minutes had gone by, that one of the shuttle buses had returned and that they couldn't get on because there was so many people. So they also was in the same kind of boat that I was. They did not have Uber, and there was no Uber there, so they came out to find an Uber where I was at the street. On a positive note, let's think about this, right? At least you can walk from the terminal to outside the airport in like 5 minutes or 4 minutes, versus like if I was at Logan or like a big airport to get outside the airport. I mean, it could take what, an hour to walk, 45 minutes? I mean, and sometimes there's not even walkways. So The good thing is you can actually get outside the airport right on that little street there to get an Uber or something. I found that to be extremely challenging. Now, granted, I did fly, I guess, when it was spring break, and people told me that sometimes the airport is not that busy, but still, I mean, with that busy, maybe they could have had an extra shuttle. There's a lot of other things that they could have done, but to literally have to go outside and try and find an Uber, and then Ubers kept dropping you, they wouldn't even come there. They said they were afraid to pick people up there. I didn't know this until after I had gone through it, but coming back home, I went and I looked online a little bit. Apparently there was a lot of, what's the right word? Commotion, discussions, negotiations around the airport and the community that lives around there in terms of all of this traffic. Because I have to admit too, and I could see this, if I lived near that airport and it's getting as busy as it is now, with all of this traffic going on, like you see in my videos, the people who live there are a little upset about that. I don't know if how long it was just a kind of regional airport and now it's becoming much, much bigger. They want to actually put in another runway. They want to build a bigger terminal. They want to expand more parking. So naturally, the neighbors are a little apprehensive about this because it is located right in a neighborhood kind of thing. So there's a lot. I don't know what's going to happen with that in the future, but it seems like there's a lot of discussions that are ongoing as to what that might look like or might not look like. I also found out when I was searching about Avelo that there's actually been a lot of protesting going on at that airport as well, because Avelo has signed up to actually do flights for deporting people from the U.S., which is very, very sad. And I'm not going to get into the politics of that. But, the airline has decided to basically put profit as its main goal and signed an agreement that they're going to be doing deportation flights. I guess not out of Connecticut, but out of other airports in the country where they'll be taking people away. So a lot of people have been protesting there in Connecticut. So that's another thing. Why did I have the title as Never Again for Avelo? So it is a bunch of things. First off, like I was mentioning, there's the boarding process, which is really, really wonky. Everything from the app not working. When I got to the airport, because I didn't know that there'd be nowhere to park, and I had to drive 4 miles to go to an overflow lot, and then wait a half hour for a shuttle, and then take it 20 minutes to get me back to the airport. I was literally like running for my flight. If I was at a major airport, a big airport, I probably would have missed the flight, no doubt. But at this smaller airport, at least with pre-check, and they actually had a pre-check line at a small airport with only 3 gates. Thank you for that, by the way. That was the only way I was able to make my flight. Otherwise, I think the line, they said, somebody told me they estimated around 45 minutes for the TSA line, the regular line. So I got all the way up there, and then the app would not show my boarding passes. And I kept trying to click it to refresh it, and everything would not work. But again, thankfully, because it was a small airport, I was able to go back, and there was an agent there who could print them, and I ran right back through the pre-check line, which wasn't long, and I was still able to get through. But if I was at a big airport, I probably, again, would have missed my flight because the app would not work correctly. So that app is really, really, really in need of an update. Then when you get to the gate, again, depending on what you have for your check-in group, the boarding group number. So if you have group 1 and someone else in your party has group 4, you cannot board with them. You either go separately or you wait and you board in group 4. I found this was the first airline that this has ever happened to me. Every other airline, I would always board together with my family. And if there's only like a small child who's 8 or 9, and I have the carry-on, so I'm group 1, but the small child is not, they would come with me. I'm not going to leave them behind at the gate. And that's what they wanted to make me do here. And so I had a problem with that. And because they said they scanned my ticket, I had to now get on the flight. And I'm saying, well, what about the other people in my party? Oh, well, they have to stay here. I don't like being separated. So if you are going to fly with them, make sure that you know that if you have check-in luggage and they give you group 1, but your family has group 4 or group 5, wait for them and go with them, because they will separate you and they're pretty rude about it. I did not find any of the employees to be overly happy or positive, especially on the plane, on the flight I was on. They were kind of rude to other passengers. I didn't know that you had to actually touch your call bell in order to get water. I had just kind of asked one of the flight attendants, I'm sorry, did I miss the water? Because I had my eyes closed for like a second, and I thought maybe they'd already skipped me. But they kind of rudely yelled at me that I have to touch my button in order to call for water. That's just not something I was used to doing. So I didn't know that, and they weren't nice in explaining it. And again, with a short flight, it's only 2 hours, 20 minutes, but still they offer longer flights, I believe. They do go to LA from the East Coast. They go to Vegas. To be on a 4 or 5 hour flight without any options to purchase any additional beverages or purchase some snacks. I mean, it's a good way for them to make revenue, but also for the passengers to get something. I think that's shameful. And all they do is go back and forth and, ask about trash. And I went to use the bathroom once, and literally I was in there for maybe 90 seconds. Someone starts banging on the door, telling me I had to get out, that there was other people waiting. And it was the flight attendant. And so when I opened the door, they kind of were rude, and they're like, there's other people waiting. And there wasn't anybody waiting. It's just very strange, very, very strange. So I would say for the attitude, for the lack of amenities, there's no Wi-Fi. Almost every airline that you fly on nowadays has Wi-Fi. If they don't have Wi-Fi, they do have some type of in-flight entertainment that you can kind of hook into. So I don't know, for all of those, for the rudeness, for the boarding process, and for what you pay, I mean, you can fly on another airline for that price or even cheaper and get better amenities. So I do not see a reason why I would have to go back to that company again. I wish that the people were nicer. I wish many things, but it's just wishing. But we still love all that moves. I'm still grateful to fly. I'm very happy that I flew down there. I thank everyone who made that service possible. And I wish they had thanked me, but the flight crew, like the pilot and co-pilot and everything, they just ran right off. They didn't stop and wait and say thank you. And anyways, I've said enough. Until next time, God bless you. Thank you. Please keep loving what moves you. And I will see you in the next video when I will show you what I did on the weekend down in Florida that I flew down on Avelo for. Take care.